Hi guys, welcome to another video, and today we're going to look at this SATA USB 3 hard drive docking station. Normally this retails for around about £36, I got it for £21.99. I decided to go with SABRENT over other brands because it had over 44,000 reviews. Due to the 39% discount, I thought this would be worth giving it a try. The item comes complete with manual, enclosure, power connector and data lead. The manual is clearly laid out and easy to read. The manual is certainly basic to the eye, which is a good thing, especially when you're dealing with electronics. The data cable is precisely 1 meter long. One end of the cable is USB-A and the other is a proprietary connector for the enclosure. Quality feels average at best. This is certainly one of the cheapest feeling data cables I've ever felt. The supplied power connector is 2 meters long, which is more than generous. But again, the quality of materials used make it feel cheap and almost inadequate, but I might be wrong with this. For some reason it just doesn't feel polished. To the rear of the enclosure you can see where you put the data and the power cable. This unpolished feeling also extends itself to the enclosure itself, especially as you look around it and study its form factor. Everything about this when you handle it feels brittle and cheaply made. It feels too light. I don't believe this is going to offer the protection I need for my precious files. When looking at the drive at a distance, this looks like it's going to be man enough for the job. As soon as you start handling it, you start to realise this is really cheaply made, and it's just very cheap plastic, almost like Bakelite. However, if you look at this from a distance or have the right sort of lighting and filming techniques, you'll make it look fantastic. As I spin it around, I'm going to put the microphone near the plastic so you can hear it as I knock it around, and you tell me whether or not you think this sounds quality or not. The lid is attached by a very flimsy hinge. I've had this Seagate 2TB Barracuda for a number of years now as a spare, but let's give it a shot and see what it's like fitting it in. This should be an easy process as it only fits in one way. I'm sure you heard the cheap sounding plastic scraping sounds. I put this rather expensive lovely drive into the enclosure. This is a 3.5 inch standard SATA drive, so it should feel a lot more snug. These SATA drives have moving parts and it's really important that they don't move around. This is blatantly not the case with this enclosure. However, with the smoked screen and the drive inside it looks a lot better. As I'm putting the cables in, I just want to experiment and just feel the lid and see how strong it is. Sadly, as I thought, I believe this won't offer any protection at all for my drive. This is the first time this drive has ever been used, so I thought I'd walk you through the process of how to set up the drive with a MacBook Pro. As soon as you plug it in, go straight to Disk Utility. Run First Aid to make sure there's nothing wrong with the drive. This should literally only take a few seconds depending on the power of your computer and the size of the drive. When this is completed, we now need to format the drive, and that's done by clicking the Erase button. At this point you can name the drive whatever you want, click where it says Format and move down to where it says Mac Extended Journaled. Put the scheme as Grid Partition Map for Mac Silicon, then after about a minute or two depending on the size just click Done. Now for the speed test, let's see how well this does. I've attached this to a Thunderbolt 4 port through a SATA USB hub adapter. I will try this again afterwards to make sure that the hub adapter hasn't slowed things down. The speed of the write turned out to be 209. The read speed turned out to be roughly the same, about 209. In the interest of fairness, I think it's a good idea to take the hub off and to do it directly through the Thunderbolt 4 port. This might or might not improve performance. The write speed test time actually improved slightly, it went up to 211. But there was no improvement with the read time, as that again was about 209. For closing remarks, this is a cheap item and it's cheaply made and it certainly feels cheap. The performance is adequate to poor. Your drive will not be secure as it will bang around inside the enclosure. This could easily have been solved by providing some spacers or foam inserts. If the drive had been better made, I would have put the foam inserts in myself. I just get the feeling that SABRENT really couldn't be bothered with this product, and it certainly shows. I was so disappointed with this. It will certainly make me think of SABRENT differently from this point onwards, and not to be so gullible looking at the tens of thousands of Amazon reviews, assuming that's a good indicator of a product. I cannot in all conscience recommend this enclosure as it's poorly made and very adequate with performance. It's diabolical and I certainly wouldn't risk an expensive hard drive going inside it. So I'm going to send this back and replace it with another one, a different brand completely, and see how I get on with that. Even if it's slightly better, I'll be extremely happy with it, and of course I'll put up a review and tell you my findings.